Hey, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here. In Mendham, even though I'm not in Mendham. I was in Mendham. Now I'm just kind of done in. Yeah, I'm just done in. Done in will be my new name. Done in. Done and finished. Done and incomplete. So I'm done in, but it's not done yet. Anyway, so the video I did, it has different parts to it, and mostly a statement about life sucks, and the video channel Life Sucks, he just did one of these grand human things. The once in a while humans do these nice things, and it's just should be referenced and pointed out that if you want to, this is what being good looks like, okay? And by comparison to all the shit in the world, this is what a good functioning robot is doing, rather than crap that most people are doing. Anyway, so we'll play some of the video and such. So this first part is basically he did a tribute to a guy who left us, okay, voluntarily, and just had enough. Well, whatever. I'm not going to qualify his judgment. I mean, he made it clear that he's entitled to his judgment, and it's his decision, and it's his life, and all of that crap, and it is, frankly. And all that can be stated is bon voyage and such. I hope it went well. And thanks for the memories. There's not much else you can say. Anyway, it's all, life is shit, and so this is the Graceful Disposal. So the Life Sucks guy did this tribute video, and it really is, it's so, it's just so, it's just such a quality piece of human expression. There you go. So I had to find the words, but I think that's pretty good. It's just a quality demonstration of the best of what we can engineer out of ourselves as selfish, shitty little robots. This is high performance, frankly. So he made a video just to pay respect, okay, to another human life, another human story, and it was a beautiful thing. I should probably just speed it up, because you can watch the video on his channel. That's probably. So anyway, I will post the link below and such, and so a little bit more. It is not, some beautiful machine, and the fact that it has a couple of nice colors on it, it just isn't the truth. So I was talking a little bit about, the flowers triggered me a little, just because I do waste an inordinate amount of time growing flowers. And it's my therapy, I guess you could say. It gives me some illusion of cleaning up an environment, because you can't really go out and clean up anything. You can't really fix anything. You can't do anything. So all you can do is the stuff where you is, because as soon as you go out into that world, you offend somebody, you trespass, you do something, okay, that'll get you trolled, and well, I couldn't even go into it. I mean, you even get trolled for, I mean, you can't even do anything. It's almost as bad as that. As if you go to some occasion and wear a nice suit and everybody else is in a lesser suit, you'll get trolled as being somehow obnoxious because you wore better clothes than they did. So it's almost like you can't do anything to make something improve yourself, because then somebody's going to take that as, oh, you're obnoxiously stating that you're better than me. No, I'm just improving myself, okay? I'm not making a statement about what a shitbag you are. I'm just making a statement about myself. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's just there's no way you can't win with the human race, especially now. I mean, it's just culturally in a swamp of absolute bullshit. I mean, nobody is on the subject. Nobody is, is saying anything logical or coherent. I didn't think the world could get this idiocracy that we're living in makes the movie Idiocracy seem way off, because it didn't make it stupid enough. It wasn't ludicrous enough. We can actually become even more ludicrous. It just, you know, it's just, sorry, it's just so fucking silly. So anyway, very nice visual effects. Really, you know, it's almost like everybody should have something. You know, we should do everybody. So yeah, it would have been really nice if before this guy, you know, signed off, that he could actually seen this and said, gee, that's so nice. You know, just be a nice thing, just to know that, yes, you're appreciated. You know, you didn't do all of this for nothing, because you're part of the meme now. You're part of the brain space. You're part of the conversation. You're part of the context. And frankly, in a kind of beautiful way. And so it's a really nice enhancement of his presence. It's just paving what would have been a dirt road, and he, you know, Life Sucks went to the trouble and paved it for us all. You know, if Benatar had used a different word, if Derived Energy had used a different word than the... So this was a, whatever, it's Anton guy. You know, the Splinterer, Mr. Splinter. He sort of looks like a splinter. Anyway, and a conversation about this word antinatalism and what exactly is this coalescing concept of this as being the package word, you know, the word for the package, you know, of whatever the fruit is in this bag. You know, and it just says antinatalism. I'm just like saying fruit, and there's pears and peaches and kumquats and avocados, and there's all kinds of weird shit in there that maybe isn't a fruit, you know, and that's just, you know, so yes, so I suppose it's natural to have the conversation, but I guess from my perspective, the you know, the whole idea of being put in the bag kind of bothers me, so I'd rather not be part of a collection. I don't see any need to be in the first place. I don't see group identity as meaning much, and beyond the fact that we're all going to sign the Constitution. You know, we don't need to be put into a package called constitutionalists. All we have to do is sign, you know. Yes, I'm for it. I think that's all that's necessary. I had 3 sisters. And eventually I figured out, so I was just kind of pointing out that, okay, I guess some people don't have this logical advantage of figuring out that other brains matter. What happens to other people matters, not just your friends, not just the people you care about, not just your dog, not just your cat, not just your kids, that all these other brains are part of the game we're playing, that it's a multiplayer game, not really a complex idea, really. And I would say, you know, I didn't formulate it, you know, coherently, where I could actually say this, I could use the term multiplayer game. Well, it wasn't until gaming became a real thing that I could even have the concept of multiplayer game. It's such a perfect metaphor. You know, it's a multiplayer game. It's not just me. All right, so I could say that my first glimmer of that truth was maybe when I was 11. You know, it started hitting me that, wow, I'm selfish. Every thought I have is about me, 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 me. And none of my thoughts have been about the right thing, which is them, 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 them. So, you know, and, you know, but you can first say it, and then making it happen is another thing. So it's like you can look at the turkey carcass on Thanksgiving and you can say, something doesn't look right. This shouldn't be what I'm looking at. You know, this should look different. This should be like a big lump of pudding or something. It shouldn't be something skeleton on a table. You know, just doesn't look right. And then you take that a few steps further and you figure out why it's not right. So I guess I could say that, yes, it had to grow on me, this idea that the self is trying to be much more important than it is. And it's going to constantly keep saying, I'm important, and I have to keep recognizing that it just has a louder mouth. Okay, it's a big mouth, and it shouts louder, but it really shouldn't have more of a voice. That kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how any human doesn't draw this conclusion eventually that, oh, I get it, I'm a selfish cunt. Okay, I got to do something about that. I mean, it's really shouldn't be brain surgery in terms of some sort of philosophical high wall you have to jump over to get to the point where you can recognize, oh, selfishness really is ignorant. It's really fucking stupid.
There is actually like a...
Well, obviously the word natalism just isn't a very good word for defining something because it has to do with raising something also. Yeah, so just this whole, you know, like I say, having a conversation about a word that should be anti-procreation, should be anti-children, it should be, and you know, it could be tons of different statements you're making about creation, anti-creationist. You know, you could say it lots of different ways, and none of them are suitable. You know, none of them really state what you're really on, which is a prevention. You're for prevention, so you're a preventionalist. You know, you're a rescuer, so you're a savior. You know, and obviously you can't use that word because that's so tainted. But you know, that's how I look at it. Is I'm a saviorist. You know, I want to spare things unnecessary harm. I mean, come on, not complicated. Useless, pointless, wasted harm. Really, you know, you don't breed philosophy unless you're a Muslim. Yeah, but it's just true that this idea that you're going to, you know, have a race war or a breeding war and you're going to win it would be kind of silly. And we know that this philosophy has a high correlation in terms of the minimal philosophy. That is, the philosophy that having kids is dangerous. That minimal philosophy is an outcropping of graduating from high school. So, you know, if everybody graduates from high school, the world population goes way down. Just a fact. So, I mean, you know, this isn't difficult to figure out that this is really just part of the idiocracy. This is just part of allowing stupid fuckers to run the show. We're allowing morons to drive the bus. And so part of the agenda, I would argue, if you're going to say, I am one of these things, I'm one of these anti-natalists, and you're going to say, what do I do about, you know, getting this philosophy off the ground? Well, the first thing you got to do is stop the reckless slobs from driving your bus, driving the meme bus of civilizations. There shouldn't be voting, so to speak. Okay, so as long as you keep giving them the power to run the show and to poison every single political policy that could be implemented is going to be poisoned by their ignorant, stupid, moronic perspective, then you're not going to get anywhere. So one of the first things you have to recognize that ignorance is one of the first enemies, and that goes with religion. Religion is an enemy. It is going to derail the train, and those are the real first causes. So the first causes of bad human behavior are religion and ignorance. I mean, you know, I could go back to you know, it just popped in my head when I said those two words, the Christmas Carol and Dickens, you know, and the idea of ignorance and want. being the two enemies the king was fighting, so to speak, the two evils in the world. So you could just say desire and ignorance. We have to manifest our desires with the intelligence so we can exercise them constructively rather than destructively, so we can build things rather than make a mess. Make a proof. So there's no way to prevent the risk is real, that complete failure is the risk. Right. So if you're going to make a justification for something, I'm just sort of making the argument of, I use the example of putting a baby in boiling water, and they're always, it's on its face bad because it's going to cause harm to some extent. I mean, I don't want to argue about what babies feel, but whatever. It's an obvious enough statement. So that's why I'm using it as a metaphor, because it's an obvious enough statement of badness. Okay. And you're saying, but yeah, of course, if I'm going to prevent 10 bads by doing one bad, well, I have to do the math, and I have to be pragmatic and rational. So, in spite of it being bad, it's obviously good relative to the alternative, which is 10 babies boiled in water. So that's just another piece of what intelligence does, is it does math correctly. It can add 2 plus 2 and come up with 4, and it can do some subtraction. You could say, a plus 1 is better than a minus 10 as an outcome. There's monstrosities will get you to monster, perfect monster eventually. So that's a little bit on the evolution thing, and that's all evolution is doing. And so this whole idea that disruptions or breaks in nature would be negative is just kind of silly, because nature loves those kinds of events. It loves meteors crashing on the earth because it just creates more opportunity to make a new kind of monster. Double crocodiles, that kind of thing.
I agree that life is suffering and we shouldn't bring someone into it. I don't like dwelling on the negative. I prefer to talk about the potential for...
So Matt was reading different quotes from different people. One of them was mine, actually, which was quite nice and eloquent. But anyway, so this one just happens to be from the vehement guy who's, forget it. Forget it being, it's so tangential. This is the avocado, in the fruit basket. I don't know. Nut, fruit, who knows?
Or a wonderful world with fewer of us, where everyone's needs are provided for, and we coexist harmoniously with nature.
Right, so none of this coexist harmoniously, whatever all that bullshit is. We're all telling silly narratives, we're all telling stupid stories of victory and honor, and we're going to make a mess. So there's no, whatever all that crap is, I haven't seen that perfect life I'd want to live, frankly. I don't want to be my neighbors. I don't want to be I would have to walk an awful long distance and go through an awful lot of permutations of being alive before I'm going to pick one and say, yeah, I want to do that. I don't want to do any of this shit. I don't want to be a caterpillar. I don't want to be a firefly. I don't want to be any of it. Please spare me the adventures. Burring flower. It's not going to be. It is going to be. Yeah, you're not going to perfect this thing. So there's no perfect, because even if I'm going to install you in a virtual game, I'd have to first bludgeon you with some starvation and with some thirst, and you'd have to know what all these things are to have hunger. You'd have to know what loneliness is, to need affection, and all of it needs you to be deprivated first. So the payment you pay just for your capacity to see the positive ground, I really do have to push your head into the quicksand before you really need, the clean air. I have to drown you a little bit, and so what sense does it make? And that's all we're really doing. We're just fighting to get out of the negative conditions. We're really not trying to do something positive. We're just trying to climb out of a dungeon of quicksand. Actually the pointy teeth, the back teeth were pointed so they would chew. So this was just me talking a little bit about you know, that some of these arguments would be easier to make if things were actually the way, you know, like if humans were carnivores, or if we were if I was a Tyrannosaurus, it might be easier for me to make a conversation to another Tyrannosaurus about why we should change our behavior and not torture animals and eat them alive and do all this stuff, and that we should kill them first, and we should do this, and we should do that, and we should do all this humanity thing, you know, this Tyrannosaurus-y thing. Of course, that would be the intelligent conversation, and there would be no hang-up, because we wouldn't have this ambiguity about somehow we naturally have to do it, because we could just make the simple argument that no, we have intelligence. Our whole point of having intelligence is to do better than nature, because nature doesn't have any. Nature doesn't even have a vessel for intelligence, let alone does it have any. So obviously we don't have to perform very high to be smarter than nature. So clearly we can do it better than nature. And if you're going, as soon as you're going to say, let's do it better than nature, it's really easy to figure out all the ways you could do it better. I mean, there's so many ways to do it better. You know, it's just too silly to think there isn't. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a pragmatic fact that you don't really have a choice. The logic basically... pause for a minute, figure out what's up there. Yeah, back, slight distraction. Where were we? Requires the position. There's no... You don't get to... There's no logical room to wiggle out of it. Yeah, I don't remember, but yes, good point. Yeah, there's no logical... I mean, if you just take logic to an extreme, you can just figure all this out, right? I mean, it's not even that extreme. The fact that you're a programmed robot, you're just a need machine. You just, you know, constantly have these impulses that say, I need to improve my condition. I need to improve my condition. You know, and that's all you're after. And then you're in this context of a much bigger world full of all these other things that are doing the same thing. And there's a terrible amount of waste and inefficiency in how we're doing this need thing. We're not needing very efficiently. We're not satisfying those needs in any kind of rational economy. We're paying way too much for everything. Really can't think that stupidly and claim any functionality. You're just not allowed to get in the car and drive when you have such a silly understanding of what driving is. Right, so we really should have to, we gotta fight the idiots. We gotta fight these morons who think this is what it is to be a human being, is to, you know, pray to a frickin' wooden totem pole. I mean, this is just nonsense, and this nonsense shouldn't be polluting every effort to improve circumstances. Alright, so there was a third video I did get to. There we go. So that was Antinatalism MD is this other one. And, you know, there's just a lot of, you know, there's a lot of good content out there, so I just thought I should reference some of it, and I probably should do that in a more deliberate way now and then. So I have it on my list of things to do, see if I get to it. But yes, there's a lot of other people talking that are making constructive contribution, and I no doubt have some sense that this, yes, this should be you know, I should do what I can, okay, to facilitate the consumption of this content. And it's barely even defended in the sense that obviously other parts of the Bible... Right, so this was a video basically just trying to have a conversation with a Christian about why, you know, in a subtle way, aren't there bizarre contradictions in the theology, and it's not like in a judgmental way or in a harsh way, but in some kind of gentle way, just to say, can't you see where that doesn't go anywhere, that these false promises of a heaven we won't never see are kind of a sad frosting that you're putting on this horror cake. You know, that it really is an ugly dismissal of the monstrous price paid for you to trivialize it in this way of saying that somehow it's justified because you're going to go to heaven and play with your pink balloon.
Still the motivation. There is the middle ground of thinking not all suffering is bad, again, excluding consensual instrumental suffering.
Yeah, well, you know, instrumental is the key word. But whatever, I don't, frankly, the word should mean bad, you know, by its very nature, so I don't think you can suffer in a good way. But anyway, whatever. Alright, time. So that's the end. Well, this is the beginning. The rest was the end. Anyway, so enough of a video. Yeah, did my job, I think. So, you know, I think there's some value in the video, certainly. And you know, even though I've just done the highlights, there are, you know, maybe some poignant parts that are worth watching the whole video for. But I can't say for sure. It is, frankly, I'm redundo. Yeah, I mean, all machines are kind of redundant and they function. I'm a Coke machine. This is what I do. I just, you know, try to put words together to explain something that's quite easy for me to see. You know, I'm just trying to describe accurately this pencil. And I don't quite know how to call that yellow or green. I mean, is that yellow or is that green? So, I mean, it's a little tricky. And then there's writing on here, and I can't really read it perfectly. And so it's Viking National Bank or something, or some kind of, you know, and I have to, and it's got this hooky thing so you can hook it on your pocket. But, you know, I'm trying to describe it where you can't, I can't show it to you. I can't show you what I see. I have to describe it, and it's just irritating that there's lots of ways to try to describe this. It has an end that pops out, and ink stuff comes, you know. So I'm just, you know, that's the trick. And, yeah, it's, you know, it's taken me thousands of videos to try to explain the pencil. You know, it's just a goddamn pen. You know, it really shouldn't be that hard to do, but it just apparently is, because every time I say something, well, what do you mean? I don't like green. You know, and I say, well, don't think of it as green, then it's yellow. You don't have to think of it as green. I mean, technically, I think it is green, but you know, you can believe it's yellow. It's okay. You have to keep doing all of that crap. It's very annoying. Anyway, so till the next time, and such, and so forth, and whatnot. I think I've done my job. So links below. I'll try to provide links to the videos, the channels, and such.